The shriek tore through the Sunday morning calm like a siren in a silent movie. One more step on my lawn, and I'll have you arrested for trespassing. The voice was sharp, venomous, and unmistakably Claudia's. She charged across her pristine lawn, her satin robe flapping like a battle flag, a phone in one hand and a sloshing mug of coffee in the other. Her eyes, blazing with righteous fury, pinned me where I stood, garden shears dangling mid-snip over a scraggly juniper bush. The neighborhood, usually alive with the hum of sprinklers and distant dog barks, froze. This wasn't a neighborly spat. This was war. I wasn't on her lawn. I was on my own property, trimming a bush that had been rooted in this exact spot since my dad planted it in the 80s. The boundary between our lots was clear at least to anyone who'd checked the deed. But Claudia didn't care about facts. She cared about control, and today I was her target. What should have been a quiet weekend of yard work and cold lemonade had spiraled into a showdown with a woman who seemed to run on caffeine and entitlement. As she jabbed her phone, probably calling the HOA's hotline, I knew this wouldn't end with a polite chat. This was going to be a fight, and I wasn't about to back down. My name is Nathan Holt, and I've lived on Cedar Lane for 12 years. It's a tidy suburban street in Oakwood where the lawns are manicured, the mailboxes match, and the HOA rules are treated like gospel. I'm not one for drama. I mow my grass, pay my dues, and keep to myself. But Claudia Vance, who moved in 18 months ago, was a different beast. Her house, a flashy two-story with a tacky cherub fountain, was her fortress, and she guarded it like a dragon hoarding gold. Every stray leaf, every slightly uneven hedge, was a personal insult to her VY shown of perfection. And now, my juniper bush was her latest crusade. As she ranted, her robe belt flapping, I tried reasoning. Claudia, I'm on my side of the line. This bush was here before you bought your house. The property lines by your driveway check the records. My voice was steady, but it was like whispering to a tornado. She ignored me, pulling a crumpled paper from her pocket and VYing it like a royal decree. This is the HOA covenant, she screeched, jabbing at a highlighted line. It gives me authority over all street-facing landscaping within 8 feet of my lot. The clause was gibberish, likely unenforceable, but Claudia delivered it with the VY tie-in of a televangelist. Before I could respond, a golf cart rolled up, its orange light blinking like a discount cop car. Behind the wheel was Roger, the HOA president and Claudia's uncle. He stepped out, clipboard in hand, his baseball cap tilted like he was auditioning for a sheriff's role. Claudia clapped like a kid at a magic show. That's him. The trespasser, she crowed, pointing at me as if I'd been caught stealing her cherubs. Roger squinted at my shears, nodded gravely, and said, Nathan, you're VY OLADing community boundary standards. You'll get a formal notice tomorrow. I opened my mouth to argue, but the absurdity hit me. I was being accused of trespassing on my own land by a man who once fined a neighbor for a non-regulation birdhouse. I asked Roger to show me the property line. He glanced at Claudia, who glared back, then pointed vaguely at the bush. It's around here. Comply, or we'll escalate. Escalate. The word landed like a gauntlet. This wasn't about a bush. It was about power, and Claudia was playing dirty. Then came the sheriff's cruiser. Claudia had called the cops. Deputy Harris, a weary man with a sunburned neck, stepped out, already rubbing his temples. Claudia launched into a tirade about my aggressive shrubbery and assault on neighborhood harmony. I handed Harris my ID and my property deed, which I kept in a lockbox for moments like this. Claudia's outbursts weren't new. After a quick walk around the lot, Harris returned my documents. You're in the clear, Mr. Holt. This is your property. Claudia's face twisted like she'd bitten into a lime. She stormed to her porch, shouting about lawsuits and the city council. I thought that was the end, but as she retreated, I caught a flicker of doubt in her brief pause as she glanced at her lawn's edge. It was subtle, but it sparked a suspicion. What if she wasn't just territorial? What if she was hiding something? That night, I dug through a dusty file box in my garage, pulling out a faded surveyor's map from 1983 drawn when my dad bought this land. I unrolled it on my kitchen table, tracing the lines with a finger. My pulse quickened. The boundary didn't just skirt Claudia's property, it cut through it. Her front porch, her rose garden, even part of her living room sat on my land. The realization hit like a thunderclap. This wasn't about a bush. It was about a house built on stolen ground. Claudia wasn't just a loud neighbor, she was a squatter, banking on no one noticing. I called a licensed surveyor the next morning. If Claudia wanted to play HOA games, I'd play for keeps. The survey team arrived on a sunny Wednesday, their van marked Elite Boundary Solutions. Tripods and GPS gear clattered as they set up, and I watched from my porch, coffee in hand. Claudia was outside, inexplicably watering her mailbox, dressed in a tracksuit and a VY sore like she was prepping for a tennis match. The moment she saw the crew, she dropped her hose and stormed over, her voice hitting a pitch that could crack glass. "This is private property. You need HOA permission." The lead surveyor, a calm woman named Lisa, stepped forward. "Ma'am, we're conducting a legal boundary survey, authorized by the property owner." She nodded at me. I stepped out, holding my deed and a county permit. "They're on my land, Claudia." I and VY-Ted them. Claudia froze, her jaw dropping. Then she rebooted, her face reddening. "This is harassment. I'm calling the board." She bolted inside, Leah VY-ing wet footprints in a cloud of indignation. Lisa's team worked methodically, planting metal rods and marking coordinates. I stood nearby, watching as they unearthed old boundary pins buried under years of dirt. After an hour, Lisa waved me over to her van, where a digital map glowed on a tablet. "Take a look," she said, pointing to a red line. The map confirmed my suspicions. My property line sliced through Claudia's yard, her porch, and into her house's foundation. The encroachment was 15 feet, not inches. Her living room, where she hosted her HOA brunches, was partly mine. "How does this happen?" I asked. Lisa shrugged. "Bad subby VY Shown record from the 80s, probably. This area was carved up before modern surveys. Someone fudged the lines, and it got overlooked." I nodded, a grin creeping across my face. Claudia's reign of terror was built on a lie, now marked by orange flags fluttering across her lawn like tiny VY Tory banners. As the crew packed up, Claudia reappeared, phone in one hand, megaphone in the other. "This is an illegal land grab," she bellowed, yanking a flag from the ground. She tripped over a garden gnome, her phone capturing the fall. A surveyor smirked, and I bit back a laugh. Lisa handed me a flash drive with the survey data. "You've got a strong case," she said. "This is a title issue. Her house is on your land. You could claim part of her structure." I thanked her, my mind racing. Claudia, meanwhile, was on her porch, ranting in her phone about survey scams and cartographic conspiracies. The flag spoke louder than her screams. That night, I laid the survey report next to my dad's map, marveling at their alignment. The land had been ours for decades, and Claudia had built her empire on it without a second thought. Her threats, her HOA decrease, it was all a bluff, and I was about to call it. I called my lawyer, Sarah, a sharp woman who'd handled everything from divorces to land disputes. After sending her the documents, she whistled. "Nathan, this is a slam dunk. We can file a quiet title action to confirm ownership. You could force a sale, lease the land, or demand demolition. What's the plan?" Demolition felt extreme, but after months of Claudia's harassment, her complaints about my unkempt fence, her petitions to ban my grill's smoke nuisance, her insistence that my car's tire was too close to her curb, I wasn't feeling charitable. "Let's offer a settlement," I said. "She can buy or lease the land. If she refuses, we go to court." Sarah agreed, drafting the papers overnight. Meanwhile, Claudia went nuclear. She organized an emergency HOA meeting, distributing flyers with my face labeled Property Predator. I attended, curious to see her unravel. The community center was packed, neighbors shifting awkwardly. Claudia stood at a podium, clicking through a PowerPoint of blurry flag photos labeled invasion markers and a shot of me with a rake caption, "The Threat." She ranted about my scheme to destroy the HOA. A few allies clapped, but most neighbors looked embarrassed. When she opened the floor, I stood, holding the survey and my deed. "I'm not stealing anything," I said. "Claudia's house is on my land my family has owned since 1983. This survey proves it." I set the documents down, letting the truth sink in. If anyone's stealing, it's the person who built a porch on my property. The room went quiet. Claudia's face turned scarlet, and she stormed out, Leah VYing her PowerPoint stuck on a slide titled "Save Our Street." Sarah sent Claudia a settlement offer. Buy the land at a fair price or lease it with monthly payments, plus a clause to stop her harassment. It was generous, but Claudia didn't bite. She posted a video online, ripping up the offer and screaming, "No one blackmails Claudia Vance." The comments roasted her. "You're yelling at the guy who owns your porch," one wrote. "Try apologizing," another added. The video went viral, dubbed Porch Lady's Tantrum. Sarah filed the quiet title suit. We had everything. The survey, the deed, Claudia's videos admitting she knew about the dispute. Her refusal to negotiate strengthened our case. The county flagged her property for a zoning violation, noting the encroachment made it unsellable and uninsurable. Neighbors stopped vying to her. Roger resigned as HOA president, dodging legal fallout. Claudia's empire was crumbling. Her desperation was palpable. She paced her yard, glaring at the flags. One day, she taped a "No Trespassing" sign to a flag, but the wind tore it off. I kept it as a souvenir. She listed her house for sale at a ridiculous price, but the zoning issue and lawsuit scared off buyers. In a final act of defiance, she hosted an open house, setting out cookies and balloons. No one came except the kid who stole a garden gnome. Claudia stood alone, clutching the cookie tray, staring at me with defeated rage. A month later, Claudia broke. With the court date nearing and her house unsellable, she packed up. I woke to a moving truck in her driveway. She didn't speak, just oversaw the movers in silence. By noon, she was gone, her cherub fountain abandoned. The neighborhood exhaled. Kids played freely. The HOA elected a new president, a retired nurse named Ellen, who prioritized peace. The court ruled in my favor, confirming my ownership. I bought Claudia's house at a bank auction, a symbolic Tory. I turned it into a guest house, Leah VYing the Lee VYing room untouched, with a framed survey map and a plaque. The line that won. Neighbors called it Claudia's Folly, and kids spun tales of the porch which outsmarted by Gardner. A month later, an unsigned note arrived. "You won." Hope it's enough. I recognized Claudia's handwriting. It didn't spark triumph, just closure. She'd lost because she'd built her life on a lie. Standing on my porch now, I see more than Cedar Lane's neat houses. I see boundaries lines on maps and in spirits that hold when you defend them. I didn't want a war. I just wanted to trim a bush. But by standing my ground, I gave a neighborhood its freedom, one orange flag at a time. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.